Back with another ranking video. This is Dimension Scott, and today this is my brand new Spider-Man ranking. Now with the release of Spider-Man Brand New Day in theaters, I'm going to be ranking 11 movies from least to the best. Before I get into today's video, if you're brand new to my channel and you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe for more videos if you like what you see. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram with the same name as usual, Dimension Scott. Okay guys, now we have officially 11 Spider-Man movies over the past decade or so, not including neither Venom movies, Madam Web, Morbius, or even Kraven the Hunter. Those will not be included in this ranking video. I'm only going to go over the Raimi trilogy, the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, 4 Tom Holland movies, and so far we only have 2 Spider-Verse movies until we get Spider-Verse 3 later on. So without no further ado, shall we begin? Also, there's not really a Spider-Man movie that I personally dislike really that much, but I've seen way better. Some people are going to disagree with this list. Some people are going to be shocked by this list. Some people are going to agree with some of the things I have to say about any of these movies. So let's get started with number 11. At last place at number 11 for me personally is Spider-Man Homecoming. Sorry, but this just doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie to me. I still prefer that accurate, comic book accurate type of Spider-Man type of ish thing. This here, on the other hand, with Tom Holland, although it does a good job, it just tries to take itself in a direction that's like not Spider-Man. I get the complaint from some people that it just feels like Iron Man Jr. Even when I first saw the movie in theaters years ago, I was like, that was okay, that was fun, but it just wasn't taking it didn't take itself that serious enough as a Spider-Man movie. And I don't think there really was no good Spider-Man action in this movie, because I really want to see huge action moments, because Spider-Man, he's one of my favorite characters of all time, but this did not feel like Spider-Man, just acting like Iron Man Jr., which I can understand from some people who love the comic books, who are hardcore Spider-Man fans. So Homecoming for me is definitely hasn't gotten that better over the years. At 10th place is Tom Holland's second movie, Spider-Man Far From Home. After the events of Endgame, Tom Holland, Peter Parker Spider-Man, is going on vacation after the events of Endgame. Still suffers a bit from that MCU connection, trying to act like Iron Man Jr., not Spider-Man. Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie, he did a good job as Mysterio, but the whole twist thing that he has some vendetta against Tony Stark was not necessary. I know a lot of people did not like that Peter Parker was wearing Tony Stark's glasses. So, but I can still watch this movie as a vacation, entertaining movie. Still suffers from Iron Man Jr. stuff, and the whole plot twist that Mysterio had a vendetta against Tony Stark was not what needed in this movie. And it does end on a cliffhanger to set up what we got in Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 9 is The Amazing Spider-Man. Many years ago, I wasn't that ready for a Spider-Man reboot at the time, because I personally started my Spider-Man live action experience with the Tobey Maguire films. But then I realized eventually that the reason why Spider-Man 4 didn't happen, because there were just so many butt heads and studio differences between Raimi and the studio, so they decided to just go reboot. But with this, I know some people will say that it is a underrated movie. It's not my personal favorite underrated movie, but I do enjoy it enough. Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone as Peter Parker, and Gwen Stacy, and it has more realistic action. And the origin story takes itself in a more grounded, darker, more serious, and not campy type of direction. And that's pretty good enough. And I think the action sequence in the school with Spider-Man versus the Lizard is actually on point. But it's unfortunate that we only had 2 Andrew Garfield movies, because I will get into that later on when I talk about Amazing Spider-Man 2. 8th place is going to be Spider-Man 3. Now, say what you want about Spider-Man 3. But this movie created the iconic Bully Maguire that has become such a big meme on social media, YouTube, and everything. The movie went through studio meddling, much like another movie as well. Raimi had to shoehorn in, Venom, but the story is still there. You know, I like that Peter Parker is struggling with things between MJ and his best friend turned enemy Harry Osborn. Now that he knows all the truth about his dad, I love the black suit, spider suit in this movie. Despite all the studio meddling and stuff, I think this is a good enough third chapter in the Raimi films that I would have still been down for if they did Spider-Man 4 like it was originally planned to before they decided to reboot it all. But I think Spider-Man 3, I can't tell which one gets the most hated, whether it's Spider-Man 3 or Amazing Spider-Man 2. But I think 3 is still a good, great enough third chapter that wraps up quite enough of Tobey Maguire's time as Spider-Man. Number 7 is the overly hated, controversial The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, I know many people to this day really despise this movie. Now, because it was affected by studio meddling at the time, they were trying to start its own cinematic universe to rival the MCU. But what's still great is that Andrew Garfield is still good as Spider-Man, and his relationship with Gwen Stacy. And they bring in Harry Osborn to turn Green Goblin, which was fine. And I love Jamie Foxx's portrayal as Electro, and I'm glad he was brought back in No Way Home, even though they changed his design to a more accurate look. But I didn't have an issue with Jamie Foxx in this movie. And I know there's so much complaints that this movie was so crammed with subplots that they wanted to do and plan sequels and spin-offs, Sinister Six, Amazing Spider-Man 3, and a bunch of other stuff. But for what this still is, it is still, to me personally, my personal favorite of underrated or overly hated Spider-Man movie, despite no third movie or whatever plans that they were going to do in sequels and spin-offs. Amazing Spider-Man 2, to me personally, I really like this movie more than anybody, and I think I will defend it on a dying rock. Because Gwen Stacy, her death in this movie is still the most saddest moment I've ever seen. Well, because her relationship with this Peter Parker Spider-Man works so well, and it holds a way better action than what we've been getting in Tom Holland's movie, personally. Number 6 is now the brand new Spider-Man Brand New Day. I don't have a physical copy of it, so I'm just going to show it right here. That now that I've seen Spider-Man Brand New Day, it is a good, more focused story on now Tom Holland's 4th Spider-Man movie with nobody at his side except for the Punisher and sort of his friends who had their memories erased from Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie is a more focus as Spider-Man and not Peter Parker. And I think as time goes on, I might move this one even further down as maybe a favorite. But I still personally think No Way Home is my personal favorite of the Tom Holland directed Spider-Man movies that I will get into. But I like that this one became more focused on what he is struggling with as Spider-Man than Peter Parker, and we got teases of his mutation, and I think the screen time that we got with Tom Holland and John Berthol's Punisher was great, and Peter trying to rebuild that friendship with Zendaya as MJ and his friend Ned. So yeah, Spider-Man Brand New Day is a solid 4th movie. Now moving into the top 5, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home. So after Far From Home, everybody knows his identity, and he must go on the run and find a way to make everybody forget who he is. And so he goes to Doctor Strange, who creates this spell, and it opens up what you call the multiverse. And this was actually a dream come true for any Spider-Man live-action fans, because Andrew Garfield returned, Tobey Maguire returned, and villains from all those movies also returned. And when Tom Holland's Spider-Man lost his Aunt May and took great responsibility, that was really, really sad. And this movie even redeems maybe problems that a lot of people had with Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I liked how this movie referenced and mentions what they've all been through in their movies before. So that's why this is still my personal favorite directed Tom Holland movie. It is a totally dream come true for any Spider-Man fans. Number 4 is Spider-Man 2002. This is a nostalgic comic book movie. It's actually one of my favorite comic book movies of all time, period. Tobey Maguire, Danny Elfman's score, the direction. It is campy at times, but it is more serious when it needs to be. William Dafoe, Green Goblin, great for an origin story, and will still hold a special place in my heart as a kid because I watched this over and over as a kid on VHS bootlegs or on TV, on DVD, Blu-ray, and with this copy here that I have. Spider-Man is definitely one of my favorite childhood comic book movies that I got to experience for the first time in theaters. And I still remember it to this day, and I will never forget. At third place, and then also at my number 2 is switchable for me, but I'm going with at number 3 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is only the second movie about Miles Morales. Animation, great. Miles Morales, he's a really good Spider-Man character, and his friendship with Spider-Gwen, and even the return of Peter B. Parker, his mentor from the first Spider-Verse movie. Now I can't wait to see what they do with Spider-Verse 3, but in this movie, you have Miles Morales. He meets some of them at least, all these different versions of Spider-Man throughout the universes and even cartoons as well. And this Miles Morales character, he decides to take things in his own hands to save his father, and the movie ends on a cliff, dark hanger. So I'm so ready for Spider-Verse 3, but Across the Spider-Verse is definitely a great so far sequel that we've gotten in this Spider-Verse continuity, and it probably will be my newest favorite Spider-Man trilogy of all time, even in animation. Number 2 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I almost got confused and said Across the Spider-Verse, but number 2 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie took me by surprise. I had no idea they could pull off a Spider-Man story that focuses on Miles Morales in animation form. But in this movie, well, Miles Morales, he gets bit by a spider and he meets Peter B. Parker, a more depressed Spider-Man, also with Spider-Gwen or Spider-Woman, Spider-Man Noir, a little girl named Penny Parker, something like that, Spider-Ham, and they all come together and must find a way to get back to their own dimension worlds, and they take on the Kingpin. It's actually a great storyline. I had no idea they could pull this off. Into the Spider-Verse, I think, was a game changer, and I just can't wait to see what they pull off and when we get Spider-Verse 3. But number 1 is none other than Spider-Man 2. Yet another one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. I got to see in theaters with my mom, and the train sequence is my favorite action of all time. And I love the story that Peter Parker is trying to balance his life as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He loses his love interest with Mary Jane, who was going to marry Jameson's son, and Doc Ock, favorite villain in this continuity of Spider-Man. Definitely a great sequel. That's what I like, when they take what's great about their predecessors and kick it up a notch. That's why Spider-Man 2 is so good to me, with the story and action. It's just brilliant from start to finish. So there we have it, guys. What did you think of my Spider-Man ranking? Let me know down below. How would you rank the Spider-Man films from least to the best? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and look out for my House of Dragons episode 7 tonight with a group of friends. And I'm also live streaming Spider-Man 2018 on the channel as well. So that is it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.